So welcome everyone to today's interesting section. Welcome everyone to today's interest. Please, if you're joining us for the first time, you're welcome. Please, you can kindly just comment on the chat box to show you are online with us and ready to write on with what we have for today. Please and please, if you get to comment on the chat box, please kindly comment on the chat box to show that you are online and ready to write on with what we have for today. So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to today's interesting section. Welcome everyone to today's interesting section. Waiting for others to actually join us live so that we can go live in today's interesting and wonderful section. Waiting for others to actually connect live with us so that we can go live in the course of. Please, along today's section, if you have any question whatsoever, if you need any clarification whatsoever, you are free to ask on the chat box so that justice will be done as we move ahead in the course of today's section. Please and please, also if you have any project you want us to analyze, please you can do well by asking on the chat box. In which justice will also be done as we move ahead in the course of today's section. So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to today's interesting section. Welcome everyone to today's interesting section as we look at the market analysis to get what. Please, if you have any, please let me just comment on the chat. Happy New Week. Yeah, it's actually a new week for us right here. It's a new week for everyone actually connected to us right now. So if you have any projects you want us to actually analyze currently, you can actually ask on the chat box so that we can analyze it as we move ahead in the course of today's section. Now, the first one, you can see the Bitcoin market currently. You can see the price. Let's just do a rough analysis on the Bitcoin market, what is currently happening in the Bitcoin market. You can see it currently. You can see the price is currently at this area here, which is around 25,825. And basically, you can see this was actually our prediction. This was where, remember, we actually predicted the market and for all through this month. We actually see the market is actually going, we won't actually see a very strong move in the market. It will keep ranging and others for the rest of this month as we keep moving right. So even though we might see the market still come up to this area, but it will still come down and thereabout for this month and thereabout for this month of September. Because now looking at the ember month, looking at the way the market has always been in the ember month, the market is usually very bearish in the ember months subsequently, and knowing fully well Alvin is actually coming on board. But apart from that, apart from the Alvin actually coming on board, the market has actually always been bearing when looking at the Ember month and what is actually happening in the Ember month and all. So welcome everyone to today's interesting session. Please let's kindly just comment on the chat box to show that we are online and ready to write on with what we have for today. Please, you can kindly just comment on the chat box to show that we are online and ready to write on with today's conversation as we move right. Please and please, I along today's section, if you have any question whatsoever, if you need any clarification whatsoever, you can do it by asking on the chat box, in which justice is going to be done as we kindly move ahead in the course of today's session. So if you have any question whatsoever, if you need any clarification whatsoever it might be, you can do it by asking on the chat box, in which justice is going to be done as we move ahead in the course of today's session. So welcome everyone to today's interesting and wonderful section as we keep moving ahead. So looking at the Bitcoin market, what is our prediction? What is our action price? What is the next action price? And then we can see the Bitcoin market is actually the Bitcoin price is actually holding a form of a key. When looking at the market, it's actually offering a form of a key subject, a key indicator suggesting a strengthening case for the bearish break. Another is trying to have a kind of a trying to break the bearish line. Another in the market space when looking at the market or what is currently going on in the market. That is one point that is actually very important that we might actually want to take note of when looking at the market and so what's actually currently going on in the Bitcoin market. And all those points are actually very important that we need to take note of when looking at the Bitcoin market. How is the market moving? how is the market moving and all that. One point that we actually need to notice, and one point that we actually need to notice when looking at the one point that we need to notice when looking at the Bitcoin market currently, there you can see that Bitcoin price indicator is actually, it suggests a strengthening case for the bearish, for a kind of a for a form of a bearish break when looking at the market movement, and which is one point that we need to know, which is one point that we need to take note of when looking at the market. And currently, you can see the Bitcoin market currently, where is it as currently? The Bitcoin market is currently at 25,830. That is where we have the market currently. But that is actually a sign giving us a form of a direction of what the market. Now you can see the price is actually struggling to recover around 26,000 500. Now the market is just trying to recover this area here, which is around 26,500. The market is actually trying to recover this area, come up to this area here, which we see that we've actually drawn the possible movement of the market trying to recover this area here, which is around which is around 25, which is around 25,600 in the market and all that. So all these points are actually very, very, all those points. You can see the market here is trying to recover to this upper line here, which is around 25,000 there, about 500 in the market when looking at it, which is one sign that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement, what is actually happening in the market. And all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market himself, what is actually happening in the market, how can we actually take control. You can see the Bitcoin market is actually clearly struggling, and also there is actually a risk for a downside break in the kind of a near term when looking at it. That is also one important point that is actually going on, what is actually going on in the markets that we need to actually take note of when looking at the Bitcoin market and other. So it is very, very important. All these points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the Bitcoin market, the way the price of the market is moving. How can we actually take control of the market, and all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the Bitcoin market. What is the action price of the market? How is the market going? How can we actually take control of the market? Is very, very important that we understand all those points that we're actually talking about when looking at the Bitcoin market and other. And one point that's actually very, you can see the Bitcoin price is actually facing a lot above this 25,000, above 26,200 resistance. So the resistance area of the market is actually trying to get above this 26,000 area in the market, above this area here, which is around 26,000 there, around this area here, which is around 26,000, around this area here, which is around 26,200. So it's actually trying to find a way to break this area here, which is around 26,200 in the market and others, which is a sign that we need to take note of this area here that we have here, 26,200. We're looking at the market, and all those points are actually, all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of. All those points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement and all that. And also, there is actually, now looking at the market, you know that there is actually a key bearish line forming a with resistance around 25,800, and currently we have 25,000. It has actually superseded that bearish line, which is actually forming a resistance around 25,000, around 25,000 800, and we could actually see major, it will actually come lower to around 25,850 thereabouts in the market. So the market might likely still come down to around 25,350, which is around this area is where I drew this line. This is around 25,002. So we might likely see the market still come down up to this area here that we have here in the market, because you can see it. This place we drew this line here. And also, this might be the next action plan in the market when looking at it, which is one important point that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement. All those points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement. What is currently going in the market? How can we actually take advantage of the market when looking at it? Is very, very important that we understand all those factors when looking at the market movement and all that. Now, apart from that, now So they can, we want to, we need to know, okay, is this Bitcoin price actually coming? Is it still, does it still remain at risk when looking at the Bitcoin market? Are we still seeing some risks in the market where the Bitcoin price remain in a bearish zone and all attempts to start a descending recovery has actually failed? Now, looking at the market itself is actually, you actually notice in the market is that the one thing you actually notice in the market is that it's actually remain now the price is actually in a kind of in a bearish zone, and also all attempt to start a descending recovery has actually failed when looking at. So the Bitcoin peak near 25,500 and start a fresh decline. So we're actually expecting the Bitcoin market to actually get up to 25,000, sorry, 26,500, before we actually see a kind of a fresh decline in the market. So based on this market, you will notice that the market has actually been ranging. There's not been a kind of a perfect positioning to actually look at in the market. So okay, this is the area in which the market is going, and we've not actually gotten a kind of we've not gotten a kind of a good position to say, okay, yeah, this is what the market is saying and other. But even though as at that we actually have in the market, one point that we need to notice in the market that the price is still remaining in a kind of in a form of a bearish zone, which has not actually gotten a significant move or a push in the market or to actually attempt. Now you're looking at the market trying to recover. No, so now the attempts in the past have actually failed. So we're looking at the market still now getting to 25,500, 26, sorry, 26,500. And immediately the market get up to 26,500 in the market, we will likely going to see a fresh decline in the market when looking at, which is also one point that we need to take note of when looking at the market, how to actually go up, what are the various factors we need to consider or we need to take note of when looking at the Bitcoin market. And all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when analyzing the market. Or can say this is what the market is actually really all about. All those factors here are actually very, very important. So you can see there's actually now the price is even spiked below 25,650, and based on the chart here that we have here in the market, you can see the market movement and other. So Bitcoin is also trading well below 26,000. 26,000, and other when looking at it on the beside, if there's actually a key bearish trend line forming with resistance near 25,800, we're looking at the market movement, and which is one important sign that we need to take note of when looking at the market. So the next key resistance is near 25,000, near 26,200. We'll likely see the next resistance up to 26,200, 26,500 when looking at it on a real sense. And it could actually, you can actually see the price actually test up to 27,000 before we actually see another new decline in the market. And in which you can see it on the, you can see it here on those charts here. We actually see the market here, it's coming to this area which is around 27 in the market and still dropping before we actually see a fresh decline again in the market, which is also one important sign that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement. All those points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement, what is currently going in the market, how can we actually take advantage of the market and other. Now you can see the market himself. Now let me bring out this out. Let's see the space that we actually have in the market. Now you can see this chart here. You can see this here. You can see the movement of the market here. You can see the space that we actually have in the market. Another, let me bring it out. Let me make it more visible so we can see the chart well. So all this, you can see those charts here. You can see now, okay. Now you can see this chart here. You can see the movement of the market here. You can see even though from this area, okay, this September, you can see the movement. You can see the large move in the market. You can see the sell off in the market and all that. You can see the space that we have in the market. This is just moving, just a few buyers that we're actually noticing in the market. You can see the space here. So all this sign is just a very, very, is just passing across a message. It's very, very important that we take note of all these points when looking at the market movement. What is currently going on the market? How can we actually go about? What are the various factors we need to consider when looking at the market? And all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take. So let's please, if you have any project you want us to analyze, please you can actually say, tell me on the chat box so that justice so that we can do justice to it as we move ahead in the course of today's session. Please, if you have any project whatsoever you want us to analyze, please you can kindly do it right now so that so that you can so that we can actually do justice to it as we move ahead in the course of today's section. So if you have any question whatsoever, if you need any clarification whatsoever that you need justice to in the course of today's section, you can do well by asking on the chat box, in which justice is going to be done as we move ahead in the course of today's session. So which project do you want us to actually analyze? Let's see which project should we analyze. Please can actually tell me if you have any projects on your mind that you want us to actually analyze in the course of today's section. You can kindly tell me on the chat box so that justice is going to be done as we move ahead in the course of today's section, as we move ahead in the course of today's interesting section. So waiting for you guys, waiting for your comments, waiting for your comments on the chat box as we move ahead in the course of today's interesting section. Let's look at Lady. Let's look at the project here. It has actually been doing well. What I actually traded here, Lady. Sorry. Let's look at this project here. Let's analyze it before we go into the market news. Please, if you have any question along to this section, you can do well by asking on the chat box, in which justice is going to be done as we move. So this is actually a project currently we have currently. This is in a daytime frame. Let me move it out to a 4-hour time frame. Let's check it out in a 4 hours time frame. Let's check a better view of this project. And so looking at it here right now, what do we notice concerning this project? Let's bring it up here. You can see the market movements here of this project. You can see what is currently going on here in the market. So let's bring it here. So you can see the movement of the market from this area here. You can see from this area here, you can see what it actually brought out from this area here in the market. Now, if I will actually bring it here also here, you can see from this area here, you can see this market movement. You can see the movement of the markets here. Okay, this climb was actually predicted, but I'm likely going to see more movement in the market, more bearish move in the market. This is not yet all that the market actually wants to do. Now, looking at this area here, you can see what is actually happening here. If I bring my line here, you can see the market's movements here. And all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market's movement and all those points here. All those points we're actually talking about. You can see this move from this area here to here. Now we have it here as a lower low. We have it here again. Now we have here. Let me bring it here. We have here again. Let me bring it here. Okay, let's finish it here. Now from this area here, we have it down here. It came here. We can see a movement here in the market. Now we can see a move again downward this area. You can see this move downward here again in the market. The market came up to this area and ordered. Now we might likely see a move towards up here towards this area coming up and thereabouts in the market. So from here again, we might likely see a move downward. And I'm actually seeing this market actually coming down up to 26 thereabout, coming down up to this area here in the market and all that. Well, this is actually okay, this is the first place here area in the market which was actually predicted, and we're likely to see the market coming down also up to this area in the market. So if I want to actually bring my line here, let me put it around this area. All those points are actually very, very important that we need to actually take note of when looking at the market movement. What we need to take note about the market, how can we actually go about them, what are the various factors we need to consider when looking at the market movement, and all those points are actually very, very important. So looking at the market, looking at where the market started moving from, looking at this area here, which is an important factor. Now, so if the market, if we put it onto this area, and we say the market is likely going to come down up to this area. And so this is actually an important sign. Looking at this trade here, we can see what we actually have in the market. You can see how the market is moving, and all those points here are actually. So all these are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement. And it is very, very important that we take note of all those factors. Very, very important that we take note of all those factors when talking about the market movement and all those factors. Now, this is where all these areas here are actually very, very important. It gives us a kind of a form of a guideline of how the market is going, how we can actually take advantage of the market, and that is very, very important that we understand all these factors when looking at it on the real sense and others. So it is very, very important that we understand all these factors when looking at the market movement, how we can actually go about what are the various factors we need to consider when looking at the market itself. I believe you guys actually, so if you're actually looking at if you're actually looking at the market himself, and these are ways in which you need to actually go about it when talking about the market movement, what you need to know about the market, what are the various factors we need to actually talk about when looking at the market movement. And so it is very, very important that we take it is very, very important that we take note of all these points when talking about it and others. So, okay, let's move on to what we're actually talking about. When let's move on. Okay, someone actually asked a question that okay, what is the question? Well, let me check it again. Someone actually asked that someone is actually okay that we have here. So what is the ongoing what is going on in the G20 meeting regarding crypto? Well, regarding the crypto market, we're talking about G20 that all the nations are currently having care about. Now, the members want they actually a lot of people actually a lot of the leaders actually endorse this the need of crypto and regulation. Now, they actually a lot of them have actually adopted this the use of this crypto regulation. That okay, it's very, very important that we have this crypto regulation. Global crypto regulation is one important factor that we need in our ecosystem. So it has now so the G20 members nations on it actually happened on Saturday endorsed the Financial Stability Board recommendation on regulation, supervision, and oversight for crypto assets to migrate risks associated with such an ecosystem. And so they've actually created a form of a board, a form of board was actually created to actually help in just in the regulation, in the over to kind of a supervision and also oversight of this crypto asset, so that it won't actually affect so it actually benefits the economy, and it will not actually affect the it will not actually affect the users, or the users of this project that we're actually talking about. So that is just the news that we actually have concerning the G20 meeting that actually happened on Saturday, which this was actually discussed about. And so now the G20 members actually endorsed the financial stability board recommendation. So a kind of a financial stability board was actually created to actually supervise this regulation, supervision, and oversight. And this board were actually coming together from different aspects, different areas of the world to actually look into this adoption that we're actually talking about, which is one important point that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. What are they really all about? And so it is very, very important. Well, congratulations, because now this is the beginning. This is the first step of acceptability, because when stuff like this happen, that we have because a lot of this stuff we actually discuss concerning it, but it has a lot of gain in the ecosystem. It changes the way the ecosystem works and all that. So which is one important point that we need to take note of when talking about the ecosystem. What are we talking about? How can we actually go about it? What are the various information that we need to take note of? So let's look, all these points are actually all these points we're actually talking about are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. What are we talking about? How can we act? What are the various factors we need to take note of when looking at the market space? And I believe you guys are actually gaining a lot from what I'm actually sharing with you guys in the course of today's session. Please and please, if you have any question, whatsoever you are free to ask on the chat box, in which justice is going to be done as we keep moving ahead in the course of today's session. So let's go ahead, let's check more analysis, let's check more updates that we currently have in the market space. Now you can see currently, you can see different projects currently, you can see there, you can see the market is currently red. The market is currently red throughout this month. The market has actually been red, and there about the beginning of this month, the market has been red, and it continues to remain red. You can see this. Sorry, this is actually in a monthly time frame. If I break it in a day time frame, you can see it. You can see it's still red. You can see it. You can see it, but you can see, you can currently see what is currently going the market, how the market is going, which is one. All those points are actually very, very important. You can see all the projects we have here. You can see how red the market is going, how the market has been moving, another, which is one important sign that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement, how we need to actually take advantage of the market when looking at it. It's very, very important that we understand all those factors that we're actually talking about are actually very, very important when looking at the market movement, and it's very, very important that we understand all those factors when looking at the market movement, and it's very, very important that we understand all those factors, all this market movement when looking at the market, and all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market. And so let's go ahead to check more update, check more news that we have in the market. What other news we have in the market? Let's go ahead to check for more updates that we currently have in the market space. So all these are actually, all this actually important factor that is actually very, very important that we need to actually take note of when looking at the market space, how the market is moving, how can we actually take advantage of the market. And it is very, very important that we take note of all these areas here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of. So one news we have here, you can see it here, cryptocurrency volume on exchanges falls low, to lowest level of the year in August. So this was actually the market and cryptocurrency in exchanges and platforms that we have, and you can see the market was actually low. It actually has it got the lowest market level when looking at the market himself on, it actually got the lowest market level when looking at it on its real sense, and looking at where the market has been subsequently, and where we currently have the market currently. We will notice that the market has actually gone really low when looking at the market, and all those points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market itself, and all those points are actually very, very important. You can see now, you can see it here, the combination we have here, the combined cryptocurrency spot and derivative trading volume, the also derivative trading volume on this on centralized exchange declined by 11% when looking at it, falling to the lowest the lowest combined monthly trading volume this year, and the second lowest since October 2020, which is one important point that we need to know. And also the weakening volume tracking tracks the movement in price and marking the biggest long liquidation since event since the FTX collapse and order in the market, and which is one important point that we need to take note of when look. So during the month, Bitcoin and Ethereum each dropped by 13%. That is, Ripple's dropped by 30%, and Cardano actually dropped first up to 14% in the market space when looking at it on the website. Now, so spot traded on on centralized exchange fall in the second straight month, dropping by 7.8%, and at the lowest monthly sports trading volume since March 20. So the lowest and I told you guys that this is actually one of the longest bear market period that we've noticed in the market space. And also all those points here we're actually talking about are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when talking about the market space, what is currently going on and other. So you can see now this is actually one of the longest, looking at the market, this is actually, since the last time this actually happened in the market market, that a lot of platform actually lost a lot of money. The market has actually been bearish. Was the last time this bear market actually happened was around 2019, and thereabout. That was when this market actually happened this way that we're actually noticing. So even though the grayscale win over the SEC lately in the month failed to boom volume on Bitcoin price for a month, while the court vacates the SEC rejection of the convincing grayscale Bitcoin trust into an exchange trading fund. It does not give grayscale a permission to proceed with the conversation. Derivative volume falls 12.5% in August when looking at it, the lowest since December 2022, and the second lowest derivative volume since 2012, 2021, with declined derivative volume share in the entire crypto market slide when looking at the market itself or what is currently going on in the market and others. So all these are actually very, very important that we need to actually take note of when looking at the market himself and others. So it is very, very important that we take note of all these points when looking at the market movement and others. So what other news? You can see the next news on you today. We have this news again on you today, and it said that millions users just paid $500,000 for a single transaction. Bitcoin users just paid $500,000 for a single transaction. That is what we have on the markets on you today. And okay, let's just read a few content that we have on article. Now you can see the Bitcoin users has just paid a transaction fee of 19 Bitcoin, equivalent to 5,509 dollars and about and other. You can see the 500 and 5,900 and also and just in the market and other. You can see the price of the market that was actually paid fees that was actually transacted in the Bitcoin market and other. So all these points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement. What are they really all about? And it's very, very important that we understand. It's very, very important that we understand all these factors here when talking about the market movement. What is the market saying? And all these points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market space. I believe you guys are actually following me and getting what I'm actually dishing out to you guys in the course of today's section. Please and please, along today's section, as we keep moving ahead, please, if you have any question whatsoever you can do it by asking on the chat box in which justice is going to be done as we keep moving ahead in the course of today's session. Please and please, if you have any question, if you need any clarification from what we're actually talking about, you can do it by asking on the chat box so that justice will be done. You can see the Bitcoin price analysis for September for today. You can see this is actually giving us a kind of a Bitcoin analysis, the situation. And what this is also on you today. We also have this on you today. And what does it actually says on you today? What does the market says on you today? You can see the situation has almost not changed on the cryptocurrency market as most of the coin remain on the red zone and other. You can see the market on the red zone in which I showed you guys earlier, in which we will still go back to actually check more on it. And you can see now the rate of Bitcoin has fallen by 0.29% over the last 24 hours when looking at the market space, and which is one important sign that we need to take note of when looking at the market space. What is currently going in the market? How can we actually take control of it and other? You can see it here. You can see what actually happened now. Today candlestick is about to close below. Today's candlestick is about to close below. It's about to close below the previous bar low on a daily time frame. If that happened, there could be a high chance that we could see a continuous decline near 25,300 when looking at the market. Well, I'm actually currently expecting the market to actually go up to 26,000 thereabout in the market before we actually see a fresh decline in the market and all that. So now based on what we can see in the market, we can realize the market actually go sideways. It might likely go up to 25,000. If it doesn't go to 25,000 25,500. We'll likely see the market go up to 26,500 in the market when looking at. So all these are actually important point that we need to take note of when looking at the market movement and all that. You can see now, the ARK Invest CEO, convergence between Bitcoin and AI could transform the way companies organize. This is actually Bitcoin and AI transforming the way companies organize and others, which is an important. This is on crypto global and other. And you can see the quote in which you have here. You can say the convergence between Bitcoin and AI could transform the way company organize, causing a collapse in cost and an explosion in productivity. I was blown away by the possibility this brilliant entrepreneur are creating. Looking forward to podcasts on Thursday and thereabout. These are actually topics on about the AI and AI and Bitcoin, how it will actually affect businesses, companies, and thereabout, which is also an important news that we can actually go ahead to check on the marketplace and all that is very, very important. That you can see there now, investment vehicle could that track broad-based indices and provide investors with easy access to actually go about it in their day-to-day activities and all that. In our view, the rapid evolving of AI landscape is likely to dispute major segments on the board-based benchmark. AI training costs has been declining at has been declining at an average of 70% when looking at it. In our view, common benchmark may not be capturing effectively this potential opportunity set. As such, it may be prudent to compile UJ when looking at the market space and which is one important sign that we need to take note of when all those points here are actually important point that we need to take note when looking at. We also have this news that this was actually in a kind of an interview on Boomplay, and the would actually said that I think the SEC, if it could be approved, if it could actually approve the Bitcoin ETF, will approve more than one at once when looking at it and all that. So all these are, and in fact, if you really think that if you are actually thinking about customer protection, a future ETF is swap space, is a swap space, and there is counterparty risks there that you could not have with Bitcoin ETF, which is backed by 1:1 with Bitcoin and all that, which we're looking at it on the recent. And so all this actually news that we can actually check on the market space to actually get more updates. And also we have crypto potato. We have calm before the storm. Bitcoin collateration around 26,000, approaching the end of the market and other. So they're actually saying that okay, we're actually approaching the end of the bearish market. We're looking at it when so this is the news that we currently have on the market space. This one also says that Ripples and BTC historical trend might flip things for traders when looking at it. This is also another news on news today. You can see massive Pepe token dump. Whales unload 20 um 762 billion at losses as price rose when looking at the market, and all these are news that we can actually check on the market space and other. It's very, very important. Now you can see the Binance. This one is also is a news that we can actually check and other. You can see them. So all this you can actually go to the market space to actually get more updates on what is currently going on in the market. How can we actually follow the trend that we currently have in the market space, and all those points here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market space. And let's come back to this area here. Let's come back here to actually check more news that we currently have in the market. Let's go ahead to this news that we have here in the market. Let's go to Coin Telegraph. Now, what do we have on? Okay, you can see here Coin Telegraph. Someone that was actually asking me about G20 actually said that there was actually a kind of a committee that was actually set up in kind of checking out the regulation, the acceptance, and how to actually go about it. And this is the news that we currently have here. You can see the G20 move forward in international crypto framework. So let's get more news on that. Let's get more news on that. Let's get more. You can say now, let's get more news on that as we keep moving ahead. Now, you can see the upcoming framework will affect users in several countries by automatically exchanging information about crypto transaction between judiciary on the basic on the annual basic and others. Now, okay, let's get more news. You can see it here. You can see now, okay, this one, this we actually have here. You can see now at the one family section of G2020 collaborate on how to collectively think about empowering fellow women and making our employment more exclusive as well as sustainable. Now, giving an example of how technology could leverage to bring a positive difference in people's life when looking at this was actually discussed on in the G20 and market and other trying to get okay how can we actually leverage on the market when looking at the market space or on looking at this new technology, the Bitcoin market, cryptocurrency, and other. And we all know that cryptocurrency and or the Bitcoin is actually known for transparency, security, immutability. All these are actually countries are actually important points that we need to take note of when looking at the market space. And you can see several countries could actually be affected by the upcoming framework. There's actually a framework that is actually going to that we're actually working on that needs to be created. And several countries might actually be affected. Like we have like likes of Argentina, Russia, Brazil, Canada, we have China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, most of those countries, South Africa, even though South United Kingdom, and also the US as well as the European Union, two-thirds of the world two-third of the world crypto of the world population lives in the G20 country when looking at it on the real sense. Also, all these points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of. You can say now this is actually one news that actually came on. He actually posted this was listening from China or thereabout. He actually posted it on his X page and he actually is known as Twitter. He actually said at one of the family section of G20 summit, collaborate on to collectively think how to collectively think about the empowering fellow women and making our planet more exclusive as well as sustainable and giving example of how we can actually use this technology to leverage and bring positive differences in the life of users and this is actually one of the news that actually came on board when looking at the market and also I think a kind of a committee was actually set up to actually look into that and actually get ensure that things actually goes according to plan and other. So that is actually one of the hot news that we have on the market. And also we have another news also on the market. We have Vladimir Putin X account hacked over and this was actually which was actually Vladimir Putin his account was actually hacked and other the owner of Ethereum and other and also weekend swap this is also another news we have Ripple's lawyer we also have here Ripple's lawyers call SEC latest filing hypocrites devolve we have also have AI token we have AI token trading volume stand despite world coin and other. This is actually AI token in the market and other. So if you're actually looking for more news about the markets, you can actually go to Cointelegraph to actually get more news about what we have in the market and other. So this year also we have news here. Also we have on CoinDex and CoinDex. And what does CoinDex actually have for us in the news market? You can see protocol village unstoppable dominant enable futures to send message to ether dominance when looking at the market and others. We also have here now DAO Barry towards treasury spies after after non-fundable token holders rally out of age quit when looking at it. So all this you can see the SEC counter repos in effort to appeal under breaking repos ruling when looking at it on the real sense and other. So you can see NFT video startup glass fall to crypto bear market you can see it here in which you can actually check more in the year admin spot item ETF push when looking at the market and order. You can see company Ripples, you can see here also Ripples acquire crypto first charter trust company Fortress Trust when looking at the market movement and other. You can see the US Fed Vice Chairman Barry says the Barry says the CBDC decision still a long way off when looking at the market movement and others. We also have here, you can see Bitcoin halving is nice, but kickstarting the bull run require flat money supply growth when looking at the market movement. And so all these are actually important news that we currently have on the market space that give us direction on what is actually happening in the market. How can we actually take control of the market? What are the various factors we need to consider when looking at the markets and other places? I don't know if we have any question. I would like to take one or two questions, and we're gradually coming to an end of today's interesting section. So I would like to take one or two questions as we keep moving ahead in the course of today, as we keep moving ahead in the course of today. So all this is actually very, very important that we need to actually take note of when looking at the market place. What is actually currently going in the market space? How can we actually take advantage of the market? What are the various factors we need to consider when looking at the market space, market movement? And that is very, very important that we understand all these factors when looking at the market movement. And it's very, very important that we understand all these factors when looking at the market space. And I believe you guys are actually gaining a lot from what I'm actually sharing with you guys in the course of today's section. I believe you guys are actually gaining a lot from what we're actually sharing with you guys in the course of today's session. Please, if you're yet to follow our profile and you're listening to us, please kindly do follow our profile so that whenever we are live, you will be signified live whenever we are live, and you miss out on any section as we keep moving ahead in the course of today's wonderful and interesting session. You can see here, you can see the first. Let's just look at the first thing. You can see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ether. You can see BNB, Ripples, USD coin, Cardano, Dogecoin, Solana, Tron. You can see this is actually the first thing. And you can see that you can see in a day trade, you can see them, they're actually red. The market is actually red when looking at it. Even though the first 20, you will notice that the market has actually been red. It has not actually given a very good strength when looking at the market and other, which is one important sign that we need to take note of. All these are actually important sign that gives us direction on what is actually happening in the market, how we need to take control of the market, and it is very, very important that we understand all these factors. You can see the Bitcoin market, you can see Ether, you can see the USDT, you can see all of them, you can see how the market has actually been going. We've not actually seen a very good strength when looking at the market movement, or when looking at what is currently going in the market, how to actually take advantage of the market, and that you can see what is currently going in the market. All these points are actually, all these are actually giving us direction. Okay, what should we expect? What is the next action plan of the market and all that. So for this month, I'm actually, like I said earlier, I'm actually expecting to see the market not, and we are not actually going to see a lot of strength in the market, a lot of movement when looking at the Bitcoin market for this month. But subsequently for next month, which is October, I'm actually expecting to see a very good push in the Bitcoin market next month. I expect to see, because of the halving coming on board thereabout, I'm actually expecting to see a very good move in the market thereabout. And also remember, next month is actually going to be when SEC is actually going to give its verdict on the ETF, on the ETF, the ETF, Bitcoin ETF and thereabout. So all this actually very, very important. All these factors are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market. What is the market saying? How can we actually, what do we need to know? How can we actually take advantage of the market? And that is very, very important that we take note of, all these points when looking at the market movement. And that is very, very important that we take note of all these points when looking at the market movement and other. All these points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the markets, when looking at the market movement and other. So let's, what other point do we need to actually take note of? What other point do we need to talk about when looking at the news factors? Let's go back to our trend line. Let's go to our market trend line to actually see what we're actually talking about. Let's go back to our trend line to see what we're actually talking about. So all these factors here are actually very, very, all these factors here, we actually take advantage of the market when looking at it. Is very, very important that we understand all those factors when looking at the market. And so looking at the Bitcoin market, let me come back here. This is actually lady, which if you're looking at trading this project, this is actually how we actually see the market. This is the prediction price of the market. This has actually got into this area here, another, which was actually one of the first action price of the market. We might likely see a push, a little bit of push in the market. Then we will So we'll actually see a push in the market, then we'll actually see the market coming down also up to this area here in the market. But looking at the Bitcoin market, what do we actually, you can see this area here, you can see the area line here, you can see the movement of the market. Let me bring this up. Let's bring out the relative strength index. You can see the relative strength index is around 39. You can see this around 38, 38 thereabouts in the market. Guys, to show you that there is not actually enough strength in the market, and thereabout a lot of people are not actually investing into the market. When looking at it, they are trying to watch, okay, what is actually happening in the market, what is the next action plan when looking at the market. So all these points here, all these areas here are actually very, very important. It's very, very important that we understand all these factors when looking at the market movement, what is currently going in the market, how can we actually go about it, and all these areas here are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the market movements and others. So I don't know if you have any question. Do we have any question? Do we have any question? Do we have any question so that I will do justice to it as we move ahead in the course of today's session. I don't know if we have any question at whatsoever so that we can do justice to it before we come to an end of today's interesting section. But in the absence of any question, that is all what we'll be talking about in today's interesting conversation. Join us again tomorrow for another interesting time. We will come together tomorrow to gain a lot about the market space, what we need to know about the market space, how can we actually, what kind of projects actually invest in, how can we actually go about it, and all these points are actually very, very important that we need to actually focus on and take note of. We're looking at the market space and all that. So that's all what we'll be talking about in today's session. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for everyone for joining us live. This is a new week. This is a new week. We're already in the Ember month, and this is actually a new week. See you same time tomorrow for another interesting section as we come live again tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the likes, thank you for the comments. I wish you guys a very blessed day and wonderful day ahead of you. See you same time tomorrow for another interesting session. Bye, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.